NetsBoy, so let's hear what he has to say. His name is NetsBoy, he thinks the world is all over when the Nets just can't play.
What up, Net fans? NetsBoy here, bring your latest in your It's All Over, What a Surprise, Brooklyn Nets news. Okay. Normally, when the Nets season comes to an end, I have a really, really big, long episode in which I discuss pretty much everything. And it goes on for over 30 minutes, and it drags on, and it's just a little much. So I've decided that I'm not going to do that this time. Instead, I'm going to actually split everything up into 3 separate episodes, starting with today's episode, which is going to be about Games 3 and Game 4, and the whole 76ers Nets series. And then, hopefully by the end of this week, if not the beginning of next week, I'm going to do another episode about the entire season, and kind of like a season in review, and look at everything that transpired from the beginning of the year and all the expectations to the disaster with Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant, to how everything ended, and kind of just reflect on that and everything that transpired. So that's going to be a fun episode in itself. And then after that will be what will be considered the season finale of NetsBoy, as I discuss what is next for this Brooklyn's Nets team. How can this team build on everything that has happened moving forward, and some of the things I hope to see happens? Because look, the season just ended 3 days ago, and there's a lot of speculation out there, and a lot of things swirling out there about this Nets team. You know, things like Damian Lillard. Oh, sorry. Oof, what was that? Whew. Oh no, maybe that's something we got to talk about in a couple weeks. So definitely want to keep your eyes open for that one. But I digress. So that's down the road. So keep your eyes open for that. But right now, we've got to once again talk about the disastrous playoff series against the 76ers. So for the second straight year, the Nets get swept. And not only did they get swept for the second straight time, they also were the first team eliminated in the postseason, and the only team that obviously did not get a win in the postseason. Same thing last year, same thing this year. So once again, the Nets become the laughingstock of the NBA because they are the worst good team, pretty much. You know, that's the way I look at it. You're the first team eliminated in the playoffs, or teams that get swept are the worst good team. You're the worst of the best, and that's the way to look at it. And I guess that shouldn't be too much of a surprise, because I think we said this before. If you looked at this Nets team, the way they played and everything, if they played for a full 82 games, they would have hovered around 41 wins, and it would have been a 500 team. And did anyone really expect that team, a 41-win team, to really make any noise in the playoffs? And the answer is no. And we knew this team had no chance of beating the 76ers. But I'm going to be honest, I really did think they had a chance to win at least one game. I mean, I know I was being really negative and pessimistic about everything, but I really thought they had a shot at winning one of these games. And if you look at it, especially Game 2, and more importantly, Game 3, the Nets really had a chance in all these games to win. But because of poor late-game execution, terrible free throws, and some questionable calls, it just didn't happen. And, you know, it shouldn't be a surprise, but it still doesn't change the fact that it just sucks. It always is just so disappointing how this team just falls apart. So we'll go into all that. So let's obviously start with Game 3. And that's what a lot of this episode is going to be about, because Game 3 was the episode. It was the best chance the Nets had to win a game, and it was also the most controversial game. Now, let's obviously start with the big thing, right? 2 minutes into the game, Nick Claxton goes up for an alley-oop, gets fouled, dunks it in, fouled by Joel Embiid. Embiid falls to the ground, and Nick Claxton decides to step over Joel Embiid. Okay. We all know that step over is one of the most disrespectful things you can do in the NBA. I don't know. I don't think that's true, by the way. The NBA players say it's the most disrespectful thing you can do. I don't know. I think spitting in someone's face is more disrespectful, but we're not gonna have an argument here of of what's the most disrespectful thing you can do. Stepping over somebody, obviously it's not the nicest thing to do, but is it worth someone trying to kick you in the midsection for? Like, Joel Embiid gets stepped over, and I don't care what anyone says. We all know what his intentions were. His intentions were to hit him in the, all right, I'm just going to say it. Hit him in the balls. Hit him in the nuts. That's what he was trying to do. He was trying to kick him off, try to say, who are you to step over me? And he misses and hits him in the inner thigh, as they say. Claxton goes down, benches are, everyone's coming in, people being separated, and the refs go in review, and somehow Joel Embiid gets a flagrant 1. Not a flagrant 2, a flagrant 1. Now look, there's a lot of people out there saying like, oh no, it was a flagrant 1, blah, 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 all this. I don't get it. I don't get how it's a flagrant 1. By the rules set by the NBA, there's a big difference between flagrant 1 and flagrant 2. Flagrant 1 is a dangerous basketball play. Excessive contact. Oh, no, excuse me. Unnecessary contact. I'm getting confused. Unnecessary and potentially dangerous contact on a basketball play. That's the definition of a flagrant 1. Flagrant 2 is excessive contact, unnecessary, and not a basketball play. So riddle me this. Since when is trying to hit somebody in the balls or kick someone in the balls a basketball move or basketball play? I'm not seeing any defenders trying to stop people by kicking them in the nuts. Have you seen that? I haven't seen that. Unless you're watching different basketball than me. So just by the excessiveness and not a basketball play, by the definition of the rule, that is a flagrant 2. How is it not? But somehow the refs say, oh, well, the contact was marginal to Claxton's thigh. Well, so? I mean, in every other sport, including, I thought, basketball, and except for really hockey, because, fighting is not necessarily encouraged, but we all love it, let's be honest now. We like to see the gloves drop and people throw some punches. But in baseball and in football, and I thought in basketball, if you swing at someone, if you throw a punch, whether you hit or not, it's always an automatic ejection because you had intent to cause harm. Intent is the key word. You can't tell me Joel Embiid didn't have the intent to try to hit Claxton in the nuts, or at least kick him. Maybe he didn't necessarily want to nail him in the nuts, but he wanted to kick him. He wanted to get him off him because he was stepped over. And listen, don't get me started with the step over thing. I know I just said, it's one of the biggest disrespectful things you can do in the NBA. That's what NBA players say. At what point are we going to draw a line? And look, Doc Rivers was trying to defend his player, so I don't want to get on him too much, but he had this really dumb statement in which he goes, well, at what point are we going to start punishing the antagonizers and the instigators? Why are we always punishing the other guys who do the things after the fact? Well, I mean, Doc, maybe it was just me, but I'm pretty sure we were all taught at 3 years old, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And by your rule, you're doing an eye for an eye situation. And I'll tell you this right now, that was not an eye for the eye situation. That is a smack on the shoulder, eye for an eye situation. I mean, he steps over him. There's no, Joel Embiid is in no physical danger by Nick Claxton stepping over him. Oh, he's disrespected, that's fine. Kicking somebody in the balls is physical danger to Nick Claxton. So the technical foul on Claxton, I thought that was the right call. That's still a taunt. Stepping over him, that's a taunt. Technical foul on Claxton. But trying to kick him, that's clearly a flagrant 2 by, like I said, the letter of the law of the NBA. Oh, well, then you're hearing players out there like Kenny the Jet Smith. That I think that's a flagrant 1. But any player who played in the 90s should have no say in the matter because, I will be honest, that would be a play on in the 90s. But this isn't the 90s. In the 90s, you could do almost anything you wanted. No one gave a crap. It was a completely different game then. I'm just saying by the letter of the law set by the NBA, that was clearly a flagrant 2. Draymond Green got a flagrant 2 and suspended a game for stomping on Sabonis' chest when Sabonis physically grabbed his foot. That's much worse because Sabonis could cause harm to Draymond Green by grabbing his foot. There's an actual legit physically altercation there. And yet he got a flagrant 2 and suspended a game, Draymond Green. Meanwhile, Claxton steps over him, no physical harm to Embiid. He tries to kick him, and he just gets a flagrant 1. And why does that matter? Because it completely changed the outcome of the game. It's just a fact. And I said this in my last episode. Bad calls happen all the time. For both teams. Always questionable calls. But why does it always seem like the more pivotal calls go against the Nets? I'm sorry. And that would have completely changed the outcome of that game. I mean, and look, later on in the game, the Nets tried to get, you got a beneficial call, and I put quotes in that, when James Harden got called for a flagrant 2, when that one, by the way, was clearly a flagrant 1. I mean, I don't get the rest. The entire, ref team should be fined by the NBA for stupidity. I mean, that, to me, was not a flagrant 2 on James Harden. We all know I hate James Harden. I despise the guy. The fact I'm going to defend him now goes to show you how bad of a call that was. Royce O'Neal is bodying him up. What is James Harden trying to do? He's trying to create separation. By creating separation, he tries to give him a little forearm jab. Look, is that the right thing to do? No, but he's trying to create separation. The fact that he inadvertently hits him in the balls again, or the lower section, it was inadvertent. That is an unnecessary contact and dangerous contact, but it's a basketball play, creating separation. It's not excessive because he didn't go out of his way to try to hit him in the balls, and it was a basketball play. That was a basketball play. That, by definition, is a flagrant 1. But I think the refs realized they screwed up the Joel Embiid situation and said, oh, well, you know what? We're going to kick James Harden out instead. Really, really bad. And the ironic thing about it is the fact that James Harden was ejected was actually a blessing for the 76ers. And I knew this too. As soon as I saw Harden go out, I said, Nets are losing this game. Because Tyrese Maxey is going to be the primary guy now. And Maxey, I don't care what anyone says, is way better than James Harden at this point in his career. And I knew this. And I said, go figure, right? A beneficial call for the Nets is not beneficial at all because now I know Maxey is going to be the guy. And sure enough, what happened the rest of the game? Maxey was making big play after big play after big play. Claxton is an idiot. He gets a technical foul for taunting again. And guess what? That was the right call. You can't flex at someone and make a frowny face after you dunk by him or on him. And he gets thrown out of the game with 8 minutes left in the game. And I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with you, Nick? I love Nick Claxton, but use your damn brain. It's the playoffs. How can you let yourself do that? And there was no reason. So Claxton gets ejected. So now you don't have Claxton out there, who was having one of the best games of his career, pretty much. He had like 18 points, playing great defense, a lot of energy, really getting into Joel Embiid's head, who, by the way, should not even be out there. And he gets ejected with 8 minutes to go. And then what happens? The Nets have zero ability to execute down the stretch. Spencer Dinwiddie can't make any damn free throws, missing them left and right. Mikal Bridges can't make a damn shot. Joe Harris comes in and just starts freaking jacking up bricks. Royce O'Neal can't make any shot. And who's making big play after big play? Tyrese Maxey. You know who would have been out there? James Harden. You know who I bet wouldn't be making those big plays down the stretch? James Harden. What a surprise! Even a call that's supposed to be for the Nets screws them, because that's the way the world works. Things can't go the Nets' way. It's against the law. I've touched upon it before in the past. Surprise, surprise. Tyrese Maxey, step back 3, hits it. Tyrese Maxey, step back 3, hits it. Then, with the game on the line, Spencer Dinwiddie goes to the basket, goes up for the layup, and who's there to block him? Joel Embiid, a guy who shouldn't even be in the game! Are you kidding me? It was just the full circle screwage that is the Brooklyn Nets. And it was so clear. It was great play by Embiid, by the way. Absolutely fantastic defensive play by Embiid. Kudos to him, but he should not have been out there by the letter of the law of the NBA. And then, of course, the Nets are completely screwed. They have a chance to tie the game. And I don't know what the hell Mikal Bridges was doing. As bad of a pass that was by Royce O'Neal, that was not Royce's fault. Because why are you cutting to the basket in that situation, Mikal? You got to go out and get the ball. And Bridges even admitted to that. Instead, turnover. Royce O'Neal throws the ball to God knows where, taken the other way. The game's over, Nets lose. And it was just done. And I knew at that point that it was over. Obviously, we knew it was over regardless. But I mean it was over in the sense that the Nets were not going to win a game. And it didn't matter that Joel Embiid didn't play in Game 4 because he got banged up a lot. And I will say this about Joel Embiid. I give him loads of credit. The guy fought through a lot of physical basketball that entire series and, and made the plays he needed to make. He did not have a dominant Joel Embiid performance, but he made the right plays, passing to the right guy, and he made big plays when it mattered. Despite the fact he shouldn't have been out there, that block was one of the biggest, actually, I would say was the biggest play of the entire series. So give a props to him. Didn't really like his whole response about like, oh, they're trying to get me kicked out of the game, but I'm too mature to fall for that. Because, bro, you were not too mature. You should have gotten kicked out in the first 2 minutes. You just didn't, you just got lucky. That's the way it is, so don't get me started. So once that all happened, I knew it was over. I knew even though Joel Embiid wasn't going to play Game 4 because he was dealing with that knee injury, I said, it doesn't matter. This team is shot. The will of them has been completely sucked out. So Game 4 happens, and the Nets look pretty good. They're up by 11. They've got some momentum. And I said, this still doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I've seen this before. The 76ers are too good of a team, even without Embiid, and the Nets are going to fail miserably in the second half. Sure enough, the Nets go 6 minutes straight without scoring a basket. They can't do anything. Down the stretch, the 76ers go on a run. The 76ers go up by 6 or 7 points, and it felt like 20 at that point. And then Mikal Bridges tried everything he could to make a basket, but simply could not anymore. Dinwiddie couldn't do anything. Bridges couldn't do anything. Once again, Joe Harris was shooting up bricks. Claxton just looked tired as well. It just was all the same. The team just couldn't do it. They were clearly so physically and mentally exhausted from the games prior. The Nets just completely fell apart in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. And the fourth quarter was just an embarrassment. Watching them labor, watching Mikal Bridges take dumb shot after dumb shot and missing, watching Spencer Dinwiddie turning the ball over and missing free throws, watching Claxton getting beat up on the boards because he just couldn't deal with it anymore. It was just an embarrassment. Maxey making this shot here, Milton making this shot here, Harden making this play here, Tobias Harris. It was inevitable. It was inevitable. And the Nets lost. And I was not surprised. I was not surprised. So, what can you do? Nets got out-rebounded every single game in the series. They got outplayed. They got out-coached. Doc Rivers going to that zone through a huge wrinkle. I mean, everything went in the 76ers' favor, including questionable pivotal calls. Pivotal, that's the key word. Every pivotal call went the 76ers' way. It just all stacked up against the Nets. What were you going to do? But you know what? At the end of the day, let's keep it 100. This is what's supposed to happen. The 76ers were supposed to sweep the Nets. The Nets were supposed to pretty much embarrass themselves because they were clearly the worst team out of all 16 teams that made the playoffs. They were clearly the worst. And now the season is over. There you have it. Before we end this episode, I will end with everyone's favorite little thing that I do, which is my top 3 donkeys for the Nets. So I started this 2 years ago. Every time the Nets are eliminated, I say my top 3 donkeys of the reason why. And last 2 years, my number 1 donkey was Steve Nash. So automatically it's going to be a different number 1 donkey this year. We'll see what happens there. Who is it going to be? I don't know. But let's start off first with my number 3 donkey, Mikal Bridges. Now I know this is a little harsh because Mikal Bridges is clearly the Nets' best player and clearly becoming an all-star in front of our eyes. But you cannot deny that when the Nets needed him the most in both Game 3 and Game 4, Mikal Bridges struggled unbelievably, taking tough shot after tough shot, dumb shot after dumb shot, missing 2 free throws down the stretch in a row. Like, since when does Mikal Bridges miss free throws? And he just proved to us all, or proved to me, that he is not a superstar. He is not even really a star. He is a good to all-star caliber player. I said this before, I am not sold on him. He's had great moments. We see the potential, but I am not sold that he can be a key guy. I see him as maybe a third scoring option at best, maybe a second, depending on who your star is and the rest of the players around him. I just think that's a reality, because I think you can see he's not great at getting his own shot. He can, but if he's not making that mid-range jump shot, he's not good enough to do anything else, and that is part of the problem. So, Mikal Bridges, I am so sorry. You are my number 3 donkey. Yeah. So there, Mikal Bridges, number 3 donkey. My number 2 donkey, Spencer Dinwiddie. Oh my God, Spencer. I can't explain how much this guy is super frustrating to watch and see. Every time he goes to the basket, he either misses the dumb layup or does a dumb pass. He takes stupid step-back threes. He turns the ball over left and right. And more importantly, he always misses clutch free throws. This guy is supposed to be the most important player on the team. He's the point guard, the only real playmaker in the Nets have, but he constantly sucks when it matters the most. I know we love Spencer Dinwiddie because we loved what he used, where he came from, a complete nobody, making big shot after big shot. But as I said before, Spencer Dinwiddie is good enough to have a little bit of respect and to be out there, but he's still not good enough to be useful because he always screws up. He makes dumb passes. He throws the ball 20 feet in the air, hoping that somehow Nick Claxton's going to get the ball. It's just dumb play after dumb play, poor decision after poor decision, dumb step-back three after dumb step-back three, mid-range jump shot, stupid shot. You are not a star player, Spencer. Don't think that you are. And that's the problem, because he's good enough to have moments, and therefore he thinks he is, but he is not. And that was a huge reason why this Nets team could not do anything down the stretch. Surprise, surprise. That is why, Spencer Dinwiddie, you are my number 2 donkey. Which now takes me to my number 1 donkey. Brand new number 1 donkey. Drum roll, please. Joe Harris. My, oh my, how our favorites have fallen. Spencer Dinwiddie and now Joe Harris. For the second consecutive year, Joe Harris was a complete non-factor in the playoffs. Granted, he wasn't in the rotation the whole time, but when he was out there, he had so many chances, especially in Game 3, to put the game away when the Nets were up by like 8 points with open 3 after open 3. And all he did was brick, miss. Just like he did 2 years earlier when the Nets were against the Bucks. Joe Harris had so many opportunities to make a big 3 to put them away in Game 7, but missed shot after shot. And then last year with the Celtics, chances to win pivotal games, missing shot after shot. But now, once again, Joe Harris is just the most useless player, missing big 3 after big 3. And the reality is, he can't do anything else. He is a biggest liability I've ever seen on the defensive end. He can't score the basketball any other way, can't rebound, can't ball handle, can't defend. The only thing he can do is shoot. And he couldn't even do that. And all he had to do was make 2 of those 3s that he took in this series, and it would have completely changed the outcome. But he couldn't do that. And for making $17 million and how good he once was, it is unbelievable and unbelievably frustrating. And I hope the Nets trade him. I can't believe it. I would have never thought I would ever say this, a year or two ago. I love Joe Harris, similar to the way I love Spencer Dinwiddie. These players that were complete unknowns getting opportunities, showing themselves. Joe Harris was one of the original guys that made this team relevant. But guess what, Joe? You're just not that guy anymore. And anytime the Nets needed a big shot from you and you had a chance, you clanked it and you were just a disaster. So therefore, Joe Harris, you are my number one donkey. And one more. That sounds like Chewbacca doing inappropriate things with the donkey. But anyway, there you have it. My top 3 donkeys. Mikal Bridges, Spencer Dinwiddie, Joe Harris. All big reasons why this Nets team was embarrassed yet again in the postseason. There you have it. We're over 25 minutes, so even despite me breaking this episode up, I'm still sniffing 30 minutes. So I'm wrapping up this episode. Let me know what you guys think about everything. Let me know what you guys think about my donkeys. Let me know if you guys agree with me. That was clearly a flagrant 2 on Embiid and clearly a flagrant 1 on Harden. If you agree that was the pivotal changing point of the series because of everything that happened. Let me know about anything and everything that you want to say or whatever. And keep your eyes open to the next NetsBoy, which, like I said, should be either later in the week or beginning of next week, in which we will look at this entire disastrous season as a whole and really reflect on all the pain and suffering that us Brooklyn Nets fans had to deal with. So until then, this is NetsBoy with one more donkey for the entire team. And signing off.